Hey everybody, Bill Owen from themodzoo.com. I'm here with Mosquito in his workshop today. This is a real exclusive, and he's been working on the article review of the new Fractal Design 804 case. And he actually has a hardline system installed in it for the review. You can go to themodzoo.com at the time of this video and see the full article, but I've come by his shop just to get a bit of a preview of what he's working on. It looks really good.
I'm happy with it. I like how a lot of the runs sort of worked out in the tubing. I mean, it's okay. I don't mind 90-degree bends, but I like to change it up too. It was a little bit tricky getting tubing from this side of the case to the other side where the pump and the other radiator is, but got it done.
Yeah, I can see you went around the motherboard plate.
Yep.
Two of the tubes.
And surprisingly, I actually managed to do that bottom tube coming off of the CPU and going back to the pump I managed to do that all in one shot. Like, that was the first attempt was actually worked, which kind of surprised me. I was kind of figuring I was going to have to do that one twice or 3 times, but it actually worked out, so it wasn't too bad. For air cooling, it's, I would say, a really good case. I mean, you can have up to 10 fans. I think it's 540 millimeters and 520 millimeter fans. So, I mean, it's definitely not hurting for airflow, but I kind of feel like just a ½ an inch wider would have made a lot of things a lot easier. You know, for example, they offset their 120 millimeter fans in the top over the motherboard side, which makes sense because then you clear your RAM, you clear your cooler and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, just a ½ of an inch extra would have made room for more hardware or hardware labs radiators, or, you know, wider radiators instead of just ones that are barely wider than a fan. And then the same thing kind of would have been useful on the other side for mounting the 280. I have a hardware labs for reference because I figured, you know, if a hardware labs radiator will fit, pretty much anything will. So that's kind of why I like to use them for testing. But I mean, when they're lined up with the holes that they actually line up with, it's, I mean, right up to the edge. So there's really not any extra wiggle room for that, which is, I don't know. I mean, I understand, you know, you can't make it perfect for every piece of hardware everywhere, but I don't know, I don't think a ½ inch would have killed it too much. Obviously there's no 5 1/4 inch bays, so they did include the option to use a slim drive, which they don't include, but they give you a bracket for mounting it. And that fits up here on the front panel, and so I don't have it screwed in, obviously, but so as you can see, it just sort of sits in the side, and then you have a slot here. One thing I did notice is that this has a button for ejecting the DVD. Well, this one's a Blu-ray drive, but there's no extension for that button on the side, so it looks like your only option is to go through my computer and eject it that way. I like the layout myself. I mean, I almost did a scratch build with the exact same layout, but I mean, it's got the same Fractal Design quality that you'd be used to if you've ever used a Fractal Design case before. One thing that I kind of would have liked would have been to get rid of the mesh filtering up here and then put in a similar to they have everywhere else, you know, if you could have just,
Oh yeah.
you know, because I mean, there's space for it here, you know, if you just had these going in the other side as well, you'd be able to put this kind of a removable, because then otherwise you'd have to try and clean that out, because I mean, bending tabs is the only way to get to that, so that would have been nice. But it's definitely nice that they include the nice mesh fan filter on the top panel. It would have been nice to be able to mount the radiator in slots instead of holes, because the Hardware Labs radiator that I was using for the 280 millimeter version was not 15 millimeter spacings up here, so I couldn't mount all 8 screws. I only had the option to put 4 of them in on one fan, which is kind of annoying. But and then the other thing with that too is, because you're limited to just that set of holes, you can't slide it forward or backwards, so you were always stuck with the ports always in the front no matter what you did. And then the same is true on the front radiators as well. They have slots, but they're only, I mean, a ½ inch long, so you can't move it down far enough.
You're talking about the front?
Yep. If we take the front panel off here, I mean, they have screw holes that are elongated here that are slots, but if they would have been longer, then I would have been able to flip the radiator over and put the ports down on the bottom instead.
Oh, sure.
So if we can kind of take a look, so here's another thing I don't like is wires attached to front panels, because now I can't.
Right. It's nice if you can disconnect those versus having to trail around the bezel everywhere.
Yeah. But, so if we can kind of take a look in there, down on the bottom, there's a nice cutout there where I have the wires from the GPU running to the other side. It would have been nice if I could have put the radiators with the fittings on the bottom, because then I could have just ran a tube straight through there and straight across to the other one instead of doing the little horseshoe that I did. But I mean, it worked. If you're not going to be installing radiators, though, that's obviously not going to be an issue that you're going to care about. So I would say for air cooling, it's a really good case, because it has good front to back flow, and or you can have more exhaust out the top or more intake in the top, or pretty much whatever you want to do with the combination of 10 different fans. So,
and you're still finalizing details of the system install, so that's why.
Yeah,
those fans aren't running yet. And
yep, I just have 2 of them hooked up right now. There's another set of 2, but just have the lights on. So
by the time this video is out, you should be able to go to themodzoo.com and check out the full article review by Mosquito. I'm sure it's the first 804 with a clear hardline loop in it, that's for sure.